Guys, it's Robin. Thanks for coming back for another process video. These cutie patooties are my daughters, and Rachel is on the left with the brunette, and Shelby is the redhead on the right, Kansas City. Rachel's wearing Jet stuff. That's because those are their husbands' teams. I'm just overwhelmed with everything I pulled out. I have these are old rub-ons by Kaiser Craft, all girl collection, but I do end up using like 4 rub-ons from them. They are years old. I can't even tell you. And then what I was struggling with here was, so like I said, Rachel's in Jet Scare. They're at a football game. They're green. Shelby's Kansas City. They're red and gold. And I felt like Christmas time. I'm like, I don't want the layout to look like Christmas. So I just pulled out some papers from my stash. I'm just showing you what I'm going to be using here. I've used a lot of that paper lately, and it was not a favorite of mine when I first saw it, but at least I'm getting used up. End up using some Amy Tan stickers for my title. So I'm not sure how I want to layer up my paper yet, and or my photos. And like I said, I don't want it to look Christmassy, but I obviously overwhelm myself pulling out too much stuff. But I think I had just watched a layout that Heather from Heather's Crafty Life did. Hi, Heather. It was for one of the online things she was doing with her friends, or a new group that scraps together once a month. And I think her page was called Lunch Date. And it was just, she took, I want to say scraps from her stash. She just merely cut random sized pieces, stripped paper, and just kind of lined them up together. And that kind of inspired me to use up some of this cardstock I've had in my stash forever. Or not cardstock, but pattern paper. And I do different widths. I'm not quite sure exactly what I want to do yet. I use this Hello paper. I haven't used that yet. I have a few sheets of it, and I just thought it was cute, like the girls were cute, like, oh, hello. And wasn't sure if I was going to keep them all the same length or shorten them up. This one is red round circles, but inside it has a white heart. And then this paper is ombre, but I want the darker side of that green, and that came from a paper pad. What was the collection with the unicorns? Someone let me know, because that's what, that's the paper pad I got that out of. And I'm sorry if my voice is sounding kind of dry here. This is my 3rd voiceover in a row right now, and I'm a little dry. So I'm just doing my little usual inking technique. This paper looks solid, but it's not. You might have been able to tell on it when I held it up. It's kind of has a very thin grayish, a bunch of triangles together, so kind of geometric, but it definitely plays as a solid piece of cardstock. And I initially thought I was going to mount that on a solid color, a colored piece of cardstock, but I must have forgot that thought. And I love to do this, guys, and I don't know, it's just one of my signature things I've always done. I don't do it on every layout, but I really like the way it looks, especially on a light piece of paper that I don't mount on another piece of cardstock. But I just draw my lines. I should have waited till I got all of the strips down, and because I end up going over the strips and I ink them up, but I save you that. I save you that. You're welcome. I know I'm going to start and stop with this gold dot paper. And I like these dots because they look like they're mists. You know how we tap our mists on our paper at the end? They're not, they have different tones of gold in them. It's not just a solid circle. They're different sizes, little wonky, just like someone took mist and just put them down in a row perfectly. But I just like that added, even though it's smooth, the look of it being different shades and different sizes makes it look textured and dimensional, which I really like. So I was going to use, I thought I was going to layer that card under their picture, but I liked it. It said it's a family thing. And so what was going on here was Rachel and her husband, Carl. Well, Rachel was raised to like the Dallas Cowboys. Not that my husband and I are from Texas, but my husband grew up in upstate New York, and his mom was like one of 13, 14 children, and all of her brothers liked the Bills. And so Eric didn't want to like the Bills because he'd like to pick at his uncles and make them mad. So at the time, the Dallas Cowboys were America's team, and so winning all the time. So he was a Dallas fan, which my mother-in-law loved because the uncles were like, "What are you talking about? What are you talking about?" So my mother-in-law bought Eric all these Dallas shirts and things, and so he's been a fan ever since. Even now, even though they're kind of crappy, you know, a fan's a fan, no matter good or bad, you know. So Carl grew up liking the New York Jets. And so when you marry into a family, you kind of also marry into what teams they like. So, I grew up in Seattle, but I'm still a Seahawks fan, but I do for my husband. I'll sit down and watch a Dallas game with him, or we'd like to go to Dallas to a game sometime for fun. Um, so what I'm doing here is I am putting some green on Shelby's side because she's red, and I put a little bit of red on Rachel's side because she's green, and then I'll do the opposite. So I'm just trying to tie it together without making it look like the page is half green, half red, and then I had the strips of paper down below. I was trying to, pull out all of the colors that I want to use in this video. But anyway, so they decided to, Shelby and Nick lived in Newark, Delaware, which is an hour north from me at this time. And Rachel and Carl were living in New Jersey. They were out of college shortly. That's where Carl got his first job. So Rachel followed him there. They're all married now, but this was 2018 fall of, so Shelby, no one was married yet. Shelby and Nick were going to be married. They got married in October of 2018, and then Rachel and Carl were married January of 2019. And so they were like, "Hey, Kansas City's playing in New York. Let's go to the game." And so they bought their tickets. The girls have their fan gear because they're married and married now, but you can't go to a game without your fiance's gear on. So the girls, they said it was such a fun time. They tailgated. It was cold. It was really cold. They had some really good seats though, and they said it was just a really great time. I think the Chiefs lost, so Nick was a little upset about that, and Carl was gloating a little bit. So my new sons-in-law are like siblings. They're, and a year or two apart. They're both strong male dominant, not dominant, but strong male personalities. Carl, even though he's blonde, he was, his family's Italian. They're all dark hair, dark skin. Nick's family's Italian. I mean, heck, my girls are half Italian. So everything's passionate, everything's loud, everything is, their way, and, no one hates losing anything, even though it's a game and it's fun, but they're also siblings in the fact that they don't know when to stop teasing. So Rachel and Shelby were like, "Yeah, we'll sit down over here, you two, whatever." No, but it was a great day, and I really love that they do things together and, meet up, and they'd visit when they can, and Eric and I would go up if they weren't doing something, on their own. I'm just so happy that our kids and their significant others get along, and even though there's still every once in a while sibling stuff, it's nothing serious, and it's forgotten about. That just makes you prove you're a family. You know, things are so informal when we're all together and things like that. But no, they had a really good time, and I just loved this picture of my girls. And the guys are probably like, well, why didn't you scrapbook us? And they got pictures on the field. I think they bought like backstage, like where you could go down the field a couple hours before the game, get your picture taken, things like that. So I have those to scrapbook as well. So the group of them will definitely be another layout. But the selfie, I'm pretty sure Shelby's taken it of them. I just thought it turned out so cute. Their hair's cute. They're wearing similar, like, hats and things like that. But they had layers and layers and layers of clothes on. They were like, it was so cold. And I decided to make the title Fantastic Day, play on the fan, because they're fans of their teams. And apparently the game was a good game. And, you know, it's not like any, you know, when games aren't that great, when one team is just getting killed, you know, and you're like, but the back and the forth, and the scores were so close. And I think that's why Nick was so upset, like, or whoever. I'm pretty sure Kansas City lost that game, but so close to the end and it was back and forth, and I'm like, guys, that's like the best day. You get your money's worth, and it's fun going back and forth and all this other stuff. I was looking for quotes, I think, to go around the fan to make it stand out. I ended up just kind of drawing in my own, and I wish I would have done like a little asterisk on each side of the fan to make it stand out a little more, but it's done. If I were to try and do something to that now, it wouldn't look right. But this card, I think, is from Stampin' Up, and it has a very light grid background to it. So I know it reads as a solid as well, but it doesn't. So I'm kind of liking these light, oh, there you go, these light textures of the background paper. And then this card, titling card, has the grid thin line background. So I'm liking that they're textured but not fighting with any other um, texture on the layout. And when I'm putting pattern papers together, I really try and look at the size of what I'm doing, or the size of the element on the paper. So the hello is rather large, but then you have the small red round circles with the hearts in it, but then the gold dots are even smaller than that, and then the green arrow paper is a nice medium, so nothing fights with each other. I was trying to use a stamp set here by Felicity Jane, and um, it said mood, because, you know, they were in a good mood and just, you know, the feel of the day and everything, but I don't think I use it. No, I do not use it. But I have it saved on the side on my desk, you know, things I pulled out that I've made myself, or whatever that doesn't necessarily go with the ephemera packer kit. And then I just kind of pick through that. Like you can see there in my blue bowl, the pink sunglasses I didn't use from Ellie Mae's layout. But, you know, you never know. I might use that on some other summer layout coming up. I pull out this black square paper clip, which I really love the square. That's fun. That came from an old kit. And that red paper is really bothering me right now, that red polka dot paper. It looks like Minnie Mouse, doesn't it? Remind you of Minnie Mouse's dress. It's up too high for me right now. It's kind of funny when you're sitting there at your table, you're seeing things from a different angle. And I'm finding that sorry, I'm drinking my hot green tea. I'm finding that now looking through this view, higher up, more over the layout, things look different. And I think I'm realizing here that that's up too high. Yeah, thank goodness I fixed that. There's also some cellophane bag behind that as well, and tissue paper behind the girls. I love bringing these other elements in. Not everything is so flat and formal. I need to do more mixed media, like I mentioned before. I've just been having fun doing what I'm doing. Get ready for rub-ons, and I used to love to do rub-ons, but sometimes they're a little finicky, and these are really old. I did have trouble with some, like, if you've never used rub-ons, I encourage you to do it because it's something fun and it makes it dresses up your plain background, and you can make your own embellishments. But when you peel that top piece up, peel it up slowly, because if something didn't get put down with enough pressure, it'll stick to that plastic piece. But if you don't pull it up really fast and hard, you can lay it back down, put it back, where it needs to be, and go over it again. And then usually it'll relay down to the paper. But I decided I was trying to work on a cluster in that top right, and I decided to put this down the center, and I really like the way it looks. They're hearts, it's hard to tell. And then once I peel it up, I really just kind of like to take my fingers and kind of just go along and make sure they're all pressed down. Now, are they perfect? No. Up close, I think when you see them, if they show at the stills in the end, or when I'm holding it up to you guys, you can see pieces of the sides, or some of them, the center of the hearts aren't all black, but each one has something different, so it kind of looks like it was meant to be that way. So I left it alone. And now I'm doing this round disc. I put it on leftover grid. There was another card that had a light grid on it, and so I'm putting it on there, and it says girls going across the center. And then above the top it says silly, sassy, and sweet. And then down below the girls curving around, it says smart, pretty, and cute. And I love the circling element going around the girls. It's like someone free-handed, just with a pen. And then I cut it out, and then I also end up, and I don't think I show it here just because my video was so long, mounting it onto green cardstock, that hunter green cardstock. And I just helped it pop a little bit more, and I really enjoyed that. Guess I decided to take my lines going across the top of the page. I love pulling up the edges of the paper. That seems to be my new thing. I did it before, but not often, and I just really like it. I mean, I didn't distress or pull up the edges of any of the layered pieces I did this time. I had been doing that, but I just didn't for some reason. I guess I just didn't think about it. I think I overwhelmed myself with this layout. Even though it's simple when it's done, I pulled out too much. And I think it just kind of overwhelmed me a little bit, but that's okay. That's how we learn. And I'm using this third strip, which are little asterisk stars. And I'm really happy. I used up 3 pieces from that sheet. And I think I have 2 of those sheets because I believe when I bought them, I was at a crop, I think my very first crop I ever went to, way back in the day. And I think I bought 2 sets because I figured, I'll use one on all of Shelby's layouts and one of all of Rachel's layouts, when really I just need one and just share between the 2. I pull out that rotary. That is from, what was that? Collection called, I wrote it down somewhere, Pink Paisley Switchboard. And I don't know if I pulled it out because of the hello and the words, or just because I saw it and I'm like, you know what, let me cut some of these out and use them up. I knew I was going to use another circle element up there with the girls rub on, so that might have been it. And I'm going through this Amy Tan book. I think is it Stitched? Collection. It was Overcast Day. I'm like, I'm never going to use these on anything else. Let me go ahead and just, I probably should have floated some clouds a few other places, but I'm okay with it. As I've said before, I usually scrapbook first thing in the morning because nothing else really to do. Eric works from home, so he's on his computer working or in meetings over the phone and things, so I feel like I'm not ignoring him, as opposed to like when he's off of work and we have time to spend together. So I usually just come down to the scrap room at that time with some tea or coffee or something. And this is a little hack I have in my craft room, and some of you, most of you probably already have it too, but in case you don't, to keep my drinks warm, I went to Walmart, and in the candle section, they have candle warmers, and I think they're like 10, no more than $15. You plug them in, you click it on, and it's for you to put your jar candles on there if you don't want flame. It'll melt the candle and make it smell good. But it's not a super high heat, but it's enough to melt the candle and what, but it keeps your hot drinks not super hot, but definitely a good warm temperature. There's only one setting, and I just have it right there in front of my craft room or in front of my craft area, and I just think that's the best little thing. So if you never thought about that, there you go. I know they're not a lot, and it's doesn't take up a lot of room either, and it's only like maybe the diameter of it, I would say 5-6 inches maybe at the most, not a lot at all. So I pull out these old sticker sheets from different collections and kits that I've subscribed to in the past, and some of them aren't my style much anymore, but I figure, until I start incorporating new things, I'm just gonna kind of keep them and look through and use what I can. Like I'm using this piece and it says life documented, which frames that up really cute. And that gray speech bubble above, I do end up using it. It says life is good. I was never a speech bubble kind of girl, so I tuck the part that points down, I kind of tuck that behind the tissue paper. It goes up there in that right cluster soon. I use a few elements from here. The sticker sheet set. I'm sure I'll hold it up so you can see. If not, I'm sorry. Did I write it down? Nope, because I looked through so many of them. But love using up my stash. I'm pulling out some red and green elements and some more black. And I am pulling out some yellow though, guys, because of the sun that I did up there. And this little butterfly ends up in that top corner. And the bottom part of the butterfly is stuck down, but I did add some foam adhesive behind the wings. That little tag, our family, I thought it was cute, little ticket looking thing. And then that yellow banner down below says sisterly love. I pull out little yellow floral, so I have yellow in each of my clusters there. And sometimes you just have to lift the page up and look and see what you're doing, see if you're happy with what you got. There wasn't much to say about this day, so I struggled for a hot minute, like, do I want to write out New York Jets or Kansas City? There wasn't a lot of room, so I just did Jets versus KC, under that 2018, and under that New York, because that's where they went for the game. We are just about ready to wrap things up. I do pull out and use up some Heidi Swap Gold Lame. So let me ask you this, guys, because I've heard you talk about it on your video. Does Heidi Swap not make mists anymore? Or, because I haven't started, Michael's and all that's closed since I started scrapbooking again, but I have plenty of it. I even think I have a backup bottle. But, or does she just not make the gold one? Because I hear people talking about it. Jen Hadfield is close, and there was another one that was close. But if you wouldn't mind, if you would leave me the name of some that I'd like them to shine or dry like hers. I just like the look it gives. It was my favorite. Like I said, I have a backup, I'm sure. But there you go. Turned out really cute. I love using my old elements, don't get me wrong. I cannot wait to get my Hip Kit Club 2, my new box this month. So please comment, rate, and subscribe. Thank you so much for um, coming back and bearing with me. And I can't wait for another processing video. Bye, guys.